Hello and welcome to Ma'ale Adumim. My name is Ruvain, also known as Bobby. I wanted to give you a little view of from our hometown here in Ma'ale Adumim. We've been living here about 2.5 years now. Straight ahead of us is Jerusalem. One of the cool things to see is that there are 3 towers up there between the far 2 right ones. The one on the far right is Mount Scopus, where the Hebrew University is, and the one to the middle there is it sits on top of Har Zaitim, the Mount of Olives, which you've probably heard of. And in between that little notch in the middle, if you went straight back there, you would wind up on the Temple Mount, where, God willing, next year we'll bring our Passover sacrifices up there in a rebuilt temple. The rest of the area around here is called E1. It's a beautiful name, isn't it? And what I really wanted to talk about is what goes on with E1. E1 and Ma'ale Adumim and everything east of Jerusalem. We were actually looking west, which is fascinating to daven, to pray towards the west to Jerusalem. Everything east of that is what is called the occupied territories, or as we prefer, Yehuda and Shomron, Judea and Samaria, because there's a name given in the Bible to these areas. The heartland where all the action occurred in the Old Testament, at least. Minus, coming out of Egypt. Especially since today is Passover, last intermediate day of Passover. And I want to talk about what they mean by Jews stealing land, Israel stealing land. This has, as far as we know, always been empty land. It's been built up a little bit by the Israeli government over the years, but other than that, it's what it always was, empty hilltops. It's state land. It's not owned by anybody. It never was owned by anybody. Nobody has a deed to these places. Nobody has a deed in Ma'ale Adumim. We found there's been two monasteries, ancient monasteries, that have been found in town. One in town and one just outside of town. You could say maybe they had a deed, but it's long since expired. Nobody has it anymore. What happened was, in 1948, Israel kicked people out of their homes, kicked Arabs out of their homes. But it wasn't here. It was in Jaffa. It was in Haifa. It was in Lod. Those are the areas that if you listen carefully, when they say they want their right of return, they're not talking about the right of return to Ma'ale Adumim. They're talking about the right of return to those places. Those places are not in the disputed territories, but that's what the Arabs are really upset about. That's the places we kicked them out of. However, out here, in 1967, the Israeli army took over this entire area from Jordan, which was illegally occupying it, had no claim to anything east of west of the Jordan River. They'd been given everything east of the Jordan River. But when the Arab armies gained up on Israel, they said, "Yeah, we'll join too." They took over all this area. The king gave some deeds away to, hey, you did me a favor. Here's a piece of land for you. Here's a piece of land for you. But aside from the villages, which is the village back behind us, nobody owned this land. Of course, the villagers used the land, and also the Bedouin, who are nomads, used the land to graze in. But they didn't own it in any sense of ownership we would recognize. There is a record of ownership going back to the time of the Ottomans, called the Tabo. It is still maintained today, and those are not the pieces of land that they're really talking about. Those are private deeds. And one thing I'd like to mention is that when they talk about land, you have to listen very carefully, because they're saying exactly what they mean. Like I said, when they say we want to return, we don't want to return to Ma'ale Adumim, we don't want to return to Kafar Adumim, Mitzvah Yericho. That's not what they're asking for. They're asking for Haifa, they're asking for Tzfat, Safed in the north. These areas were taken in 1948. This is Israel proper. When they talk about land. They say the Israelis built illegal settlements where? They say they built it on land the Palestinians want for their state. So in other words, if you want a supermodel, she's already your wife. It doesn't matter. She don't get any say in it. If I want to build my house up on that hill, it's already mine. You don't have a claim on it because I wanted it first. I called dibs. Well, dibs doesn't actually work in any sort of law to just call dibs. And down the road, we would love to build over there in E1. And down the road a bit, you can't see it from here, down the road a bit, there's a small encampment called Khan el-Ahmar. It's an illegal, meaning nobody gave them permission, period, to build it, shanty town of Bedouins. The government has been talking about removing them for, I think, over a decade now. And the EU and the UN have tried, and the Palestinian authorities certainly have tried to postpone it. A little shanty town on the side of a major freeway that scares everybody who drives through there, because the last thing you want is young people who don't particularly like you, with stones sitting right on the freeway. If you live in Atlanta, imagine building a little shanty town of ISIS, put it on top of I-85, or pick your favorite freeway running through town, and just stick all your criminals there and give them lots of rocks. Brilliant idea. So I want everybody to get a view. This is what I look at basically every day. I live actually one street down, but this is basically my view every day. It's beautiful. In a way, I'd hate to give it up, but if it means that we get to build, and we get to build our own house in Yirus Hashem on all of this land, I think it would be worthwhile. There is a lot of empty land in this country. The problem has never been the amount of land. It is only who gets control. I want everybody to have a happy, healthy, because it's still a coronavirus time, Passover, and thanks for watching.